Colonel Jacob Smith was sent to the Philippines during the winter of 1899. This was during the early stages of the Filipino-American War. To prepare for his new role, Smith spent a few years fighting Native Americans in the western frontier and was in Cuba during the Spanish-American War. He told the Western media that the Filipinos were savages and worse than Indians, but he had ways of dealing with them, tactical warfare that he learned while on the western frontier. Smith, who labeled the rebellion Filipinos bandits, ordered all captured rebels found on the island of Luzon to be shot and hanged like common criminals. Several months later, on June 1st, 1900, the civilian governor of the Philippines, William Taft, promoted Smith to a one-star general because of his tireless service during the Spanish-American War. He did it hoping that Jacob would take the promotion and retire with a nice pension. Smith, however, not only refused to retire, but was made military governor of the provinces of Tarlac, Pangasinan, and Zambales in Luzon, and ruled the region with an iron fist. Tensions in his region grew even more so due to the animosity between the Spanish Dominican friars and the locals in Luzon. Many of them were killed during the rebellion against Spain a few years earlier. Despite orders to remain neutral when dealing with religious matters, Jacob Smith sided with the church during an incident in September, which caused a huge uproar in the community. On April 19, 1901, the Filipino Army, under the leadership of Emilio Aguinaldo, the president of the First Philippine Republic, officially surrendered to the U.S. Army after he was captured a few weeks earlier. He ordered the rest of his army to surrender, but many areas refused to comply and waged a guerrilla war against the occupying armed forces. One of those men who continued to fight against the United States Army was a member of Aguinaldo's staff, General Vicente Lukban, who controlled Samar Island and refused to surrender. One of Lukban's officers, Captain Eugenio Daza, came up with a plan to get rid of the U.S. soldiers that were marching toward the city of Balangiga. They were sent there to pacify the region and to occupy the city by military force. Captain Daza led 400 soldiers and farmers against the 71 members of the Company C from the 9th Infantry Regiment of the U.S. Army. Despite being better armed than their attackers, they lost 54 men in the fight, which took place right as the soldiers were eating breakfast. Daza's victory netted them 100 rifles and 25,000 rounds of ammunition. The Western media, however, described this battle as a massacre and the worst suffered by the U.S. Army since the Battle of Little Bighorn. President Theodore Roosevelt was furious when he heard about the defeat of Company C and wanted the island of Samar to be totally pacified. He ordered the military governor of the Philippines, General Adna Chaffee, to do whatever it takes. Chaffee met with Jacob Smith and gave him the order to pacify Samar due to his specialty in native pacification. Smith, however, needed some major backup to implement his plan to pacify Samar and called in the Marines, led by Major Littleton Waller and his battalion of 315 battle-starved soldiers. General Smith told Waller, "I want no prisoners. I want you to burn and kill. The more you kill and burn, the better it will please me. I want all persons killed who are capable of bearing arms in actual hostilities against the United States." Waller asked, "I would like to know the limit of age to respect, sir." 10 years and older, said Smith. Persons of 10 years and older who are designated as being capable of bearing arms, replied Waller. Affirmative, 10 and older. The interior of Samar must be made into a howling wilderness. Waller had no intention of following the order to kill everyone over the age of 10. He confided to one of his officers, Captain David Porter, to show restraint. "Porter, I've had instructions to kill everyone over 10 years old, but we are not making war on women and children, only on men capable of bearing arms. Keep that in mind, no matter what other orders you receive." Asiatic fleet led by the USS New York landed in Samar with the United States Marine Battalion led by Major Waller on October 22, 1901. Waller and his soldiers crossed into South Samar, and for the next 11 days they marched across the island encountering guerrilla fighters led by General Lukban. who vowed to fight to the death despite being offered amnesty. After 11 days of marching, Waller reported that they burned down 255 houses, killed 39 people, and 13 carabaos. The Marines marched further into Samar on two separate occasions. The first time was during the month of November to find the hideout of General Lukban, along with brutally pacifying the natives into submission by starving them out. The second time was on December 8th and lasted until January 11th. Both times, the brutal conditions of the jungle nearly collapsed Waller's mission to pacify Samar. It has been estimated that the U.S. Marines expedition in Samar led to the deaths of over 2,500 people. The Samar pacification ended on February 26, 1902, a couple of weeks after the capture of General Lukban. Days later, Major Waller was court-martialed for ordering the execution of 11 Filipino porters who accompanied him on his second march through Samar. He felt that they were hoarding food from his starving soldiers and took glee in watching them suffer during their march in the jungle. He had them executed without trial for crimes of mutiny, theft, and treason when they returned back to the city of Lanao. Waller reported the executions to General Smith, who then filed a report and sent it off to General Chaffee, who opened up an investigation into the executions. Major Waller was court-martialed for ordering the executions of the 11 Filipino porters, and his trial began on March 17, 1902. Jacob Smith was called in to testify as a rebuttal witness on April 7, 1902. During the trial, Waller mentioned Smith gave him the order to kill everyone over 10, but he denied ever giving such an order, and he was convicted of perjury. And Major Waller brought forward several witnesses who heard him give the order, along with written documents about the order signed by Smith himself. General Chaffee ordered Jacob Smith to remain in country and to keep him from talking to the press, because he might act like an unbalanced lunatic, which earned him the nickname Hell-Roaring Jake, due to the nonsense that he would spew in public. News of Jacob Smith's order to kill everyone over 10 did eventually leak out, tarnishing what little reputation he had from being a young Civil War hero who was wounded at Shiloh. His order to destroy the island of Samar made him a public outcast around the world. The next month, Smith himself was court-martialed, not for the brutal way he ordered his soldiers to pacify Samar, but for conduct to the prejudice of good order and military discipline. After being found guilty of the crime, Secretary of War Elu Root asked that Smith resign from the army. President Roosevelt agreed to his request, but Smith would be allowed to keep his rank and pension. Jacob Smith spent the next 16 years of his life in retirement. He tried to rebuild his tarnished reputation, but to little avail. During World War I, he offered to come out of retirement to fight for the Allied forces, but his request was denied due to his age and his reputation during the Filipino-American War. Jacob Smith was a real American hero. He rose from the ranks to become a general in the United States Army. He fought bravely against the Confederates, rogue Indians, and the Spaniards. He even enlisted men to fight for his country. For that, he is truly a great American hero.